Welcome back, Astro listeners, to Star Lady Soul Reader Network. This is your host, Media Monk, and as usual, I have our shining star of the zodiac, Star Lady. Hi, Star Lady.
Hello, Media Monk.
Most of us know Star Lady as the managing director for the Evolutionary Astrology Network. EAN, we do provide the finest EA course to certified new astrologers. We have forecasting webinars, an astro library, lots of stuff on our website at www.evolutionaryastrology.net. Call 1-605-348-5111 for any questions about the website or to perhaps to schedule your personal time with Star Lady. All right. Well, bottom line is what we endeavor to do is go through the transits here for the next couple of weeks and talk about that through the lens of the full moon, new moon cycle. So I will just turn it over to you, honey.
All right. Thank you, Media Monk. All right. We are heading into the full moon of Gemini, and it is the last of 3 supermoons. They occur about once a year, multiple months. It's when the moon is closest to the Earth. The moon appears bigger and brighter for us. So if you've got clear skies, these next few days are going to be a great time to get out there and look at that full moon. It is actually going to take place December 4th. We are recording this the day before, and it's going to be at 13 degrees, sun in Sag, moon in Gemini. This is the social full moon of the holiday season every year. When the sun's moving through Sagittarius, again, one of the fire signs, one of the social signs of the zodiac, and moon's in Gemini, oh my gosh, we got a lot to say, we got people to see, we got food and drink to take care of. It is a social time period. So get out there and enjoy yourself with family and friends during this full moon season. One of the interesting things about this full moon is that sun and moon opposite each other in the circle are squaring north node of the moon, the ego we're striving to create, and south node of the moon, the ego that we are coming from. Right now we have that north node in Pisces. It is a spiritual searching time, unless we're looking for escapism. We have that south node in Virgo. We still have to pay attention to the details of life and put our feet on the ground. Well, we've got the nodes of the moon evolving our ego. Square this full moon. It heightens the emotional sensitivities. It heightens the emotional energy that builds up that is a little bit stronger on supermoons or full moons close to the Earth. What's interesting is it's in the signs of the zodiac that we call the mutable quadrant. This is where we try to take information, put it together. It includes the 2 spiritual signs of the zodiac, Sagittarius and Pisces. And this is where the intuition gets sparked. I'm also looking at it and just relating to some of the political news that's out there. This mutable quadrant is truth versus lies. And so isn't it interesting how we have these facts being released? We have this spin of lies that's taking place with this administration, and somehow, again, truth is revealed. Stay tuned. We'll see how things move forward over the next few weeks with all of this. Think the Epstein files. Think, what do they call him? Pentagon Pete. And the devastating, blowing up of people in, South America. I won't get into any more details other than just saying this mutable quadrant, this full moon, it's also like exposing a morality compass for many of us. And so this could be, again, one of those additional turning points of people recognizing what's going on with this administration. Personally, you want to make the effort to be your own truth teller. You want to look at where you may not be honest with yourself and take that next step towards self-honesty, and it's going to be revealed to you on emotional, intuitive levels. And then you have to find that courage to speak up, to speak your truth as best as you know it to others in your world. And then take a deep breath and try to be as gentle as possible. South Node in Virgo. That South Node in Virgo can have some real strong inner-outer criticism. But natural Virgo is healing. It's gentle. It realizes we're all imperfect beings here on the planet. So take a deep breath and be as gentle as possible with yourself and others, and hold healthy boundaries. Mercury's just finishing up a communications retrograde cycle. Mercury is getting ready to go into Sagittarius for the second time post-retrograde, December 11th through January 1st. This also behooves us to be as truthful and honest as possible. In this particular Mercury retrograde cycle that we had last month in November was part of a grand trine in the circle, meaning Jupiter in Cancer, Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, and Mercury retrograding back into Scorpio. They form that trine in the water signs. And as I said, this has been an emotional fall for many of us. Only now, Mercury's direct. It's moving forward. It went direct with Saturn, turning stationary direct, moving forward in the skies in Pisces. And so we can all be recognizing some deep emotional foundations with ourselves and how we are wanting to move forward on an emotional level in our world. One of the things that Jeffrey Green would always teach with evolutionary astrology is that evolution takes place through the emotional body. All the spiritual wisdom in the world, all the mental intellect in the world are not fulfilled until we integrate it in our senses, in the emotional, physical body. So look at this time period. We're still in it through this full moon, especially with moon ruling Cancer. The emotions always coming forth on full moons. This is an excellent time period for emotional ahas to be revealed, to sink in, and then for all of us to decide how we are going to move forward in our world on emotional levels, congruent with ourselves, congruent with others. Jupiter just turned retrograde a while back in Cancer through its annual, it has a one-year passage through signs of the zodiac. It's making the second of 3 waxing squares to Chiron in Aries. It's going to happen next podcast, but it's a little bit longer influence, so I'm bringing it up multiple times. They're going to have their second of 3 first quarter squares, crises in action, on the winter solstice, December 21st, Jupiter retrograde 23 Cancer, Chiron retrograde 23 Aries. That might create some feistiness over the Christmas, New Year's holidays for everybody. So pay attention to all of the emotional ahas, the emotional revelations and patterns that you're recognizing. so that you can be processing through your life as best as possible on those emotional levels. And the Jupiter square to Chiron doesn't have you blowing up at everybody. Jupiter's annual passage through Cancer. It's a retrograde cycle for 4 months. Emotional self-reliance. I rely on myself to meet all of my emotional needs. How are you doing that? Where do you have frustration going on with Chiron and Aries retrograde in the square? Those emotional frustrations as they're bubbling up, that's telling you where things aren't working in your life, where things aren't working in your relationships. Mercury direct, how do you communicate them to everybody? Saturn direct, how do you create new realities? How do you create new routines going forward in your life? This is an excellent time period to be doing that. Star Lady and Media Monk are doing it through South Node in Virgo, diet, exercise, and rest. We have come through, we spoke about this a little earlier. Media Monk had a few health issues this summer, AFib. He got an ablation. It was all new worlds or languages and words to me, and so he had a procedure to help the upper chambers of his heart pump better. And in the process of that, we had to take a look at our lifestyle choices. So we've been really making efforts with that diet, exercise, and rest routine. Again, South Node in Virgo, which rules diet, exercise, and rest. Virgo does. And so we're kind of really moving into the holiday season saying we can go through it and still have fun. Wow! We make better efforts with our food and drink and our exercise. Doing pretty good. We're doing pretty good. We kind of are, each other's support mechanism going through this. And so just an example of how you can be using this planetary stationary direct energy. Neptune is finishing up its 5-month retrograde cycle in Pisces, the sign it rules. The last retrograde cycle we'll have in Pisces for the next 150 years, and it goes stationary direct December 10th, 29.5 Pisces. The last degree of Pisces, the last degree of the zodiacal circle. So, Neptune stationary direct is an opportunity for us to really be doing our spiritual work. How are you communing with source energy, God, Goddess, Great Spirit, whatever your language is? How are you doing your one-on-one relationship with source energy and reaching for the next step of a deeper connection between you and source? As we like to say in EA, it's a 24/7 job. It is something you do every moment of the day. It is something you do in your dreams, in your dream world. It is something that we are always in process of. And so Neptune stationary direct, just after this full moon, during the month of December, how are you recognizing what no longer works in your world? Neptune Pisces can be showing us where we have been there, done that. We've achieved something. We've been through that desire. But now it is time to release it and search for new desire. And that new desire really has to include connection to source energy. And as we like to say, it's not the path of the monastery or the convent. It's not shutting yourself off away from the world, climbing to the, Himalayan mountaintop and non-participation. It is a path of the householder. It's 24/7. So Neptune can be revealing to you, and especially during a holiday season, for those of you who participate in Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, I'm not pronouncing it right. Forgive me for my mispronunciations. However you choose to celebrate the time period. For me, it's winter solstice. It's the return of the sun. It is the rebirth of life. However you choose to celebrate it during this season, Neptune stationary direct in the last degree of its own sign, Pisces, it can be very major moments and ahas and revelations again of how you want to connect with humanity in this world. We see some really, don't get me angry, distortions of it in our political world in the United States. You can choose differently. You can choose to participate differently. Me, I'm not just connections with treating other humans decently, but how do we treat the flora and the fauna on the planet as well? How do we see the beauty of source energy in every living thing? So, however that's being revealed to you. South Node in Virgo, stomp your feet, as the African prayer says. Action speaks louder than words. North Node in Pisces, that has its symbiotic relationship with Saturn direct late Pisces, Neptune direct last degree of Pisces. How do we rebirth our spiritual world? I really do think there's a broad consensus in the United States and hopefully in other countries as well that are going, wait a minute, we're all on this little sandbox together. How do we choose to get along? And how do we choose to be giving with others this time of the year? Venus went into Sagittarius November 30th to December 24th. Mercury again back into Sag December 11th through January 1st. Those two planets in Sagittarius again. How do I get to honesty? How do I trust my intuition? What do I really value in my world? And then how do I live it? How do I speak my truth? How do I live my truth? How do I walk my truth? Sagittarius is about the intuition. It is our intuitive right brain. How can you align with that? And then it brings you greater peace. It allows you to be in your world naturally. Mars is going to go into Capricorn December 15th through January 23rd. But before it does, Mars in Sagittarius makes last quarter squares, crises in consciousness. What do I believe? How am I going to act, Mars? It makes last quarter squares to Saturn December 8th, 25 Sagittarius, Pisces, Mars, Saturn. And then it makes a last quarter square to Neptune, freshly direct, December 14th, 29.5 Mars, Sag, Neptune in Pisces. Again, this is going to relate to this full moon energy square the nodes of the moon that says truth versus lies, truth versus lies. And Mars in Sagittarius is all about walking our talk. It's all about speaking the truth, acting in truth. This is why we're having, one more time, so many of these lies revealed right now in such extreme ways. You're just flabbergasted, but it also helps consensus consciousness recognize it. It has to almost be out there in a, fantastical way for them to go, wait a minute, I did get sold a con job by the greatest con artist of all time. And truth is revealed. Now, to have Mars in Sag doing it with last quarter squares to Saturn and Neptune at the end of Pisces, we can have those who believe the lie. We can have those who just stick their head in the sand, double down on the lies in, spite of facts being right out there. There are those who will choose the lie because it is too disruptive to their world. Almost like, how can you be gentle with them as you're speaking facts and truth? And if we confine, perhaps, some of those neutral, non-accusatory ways of conversing, there will be those who will wake up. There will be those going, wait a minute, I'm looking at this a little differently. We all are doing it in our own ways, in our own world. How are you understanding things better? And if you are having last quarter squares, crises in consciousness, if you are having any depression, any despondency, any confusion, any I don't know what to believe anymore, here I am. You've heard me say this. I haven't said it for a little while, but as we go through the last few months of Saturn in Pisces and Neptune in Pisces, Kim Marie has to share her two favorite Pisces mantras, which are question marks. What would you have me know, Source? What would you have me do, Source? And as I say, you ask and you ask and you ask until Source reveals directly to you. What is your truth? How are your personal truths broadening to align with universal, timeless truth? And then how do you live that in your world? And so, as we are approaching this winter solstice, I leave you with this. What would you have me know, Source? What would you have me do, Source? All right,
Thank you. Thank you, Star Lady. That was great. Again, if you're interested in perhaps your own personal session with Star Lady, if this resonated for you, just call us 605-348-5111. Contact Media Monk at evolutionaryastrology.net for any other questions on the website, or, again, I will also assist in getting your personal time scheduled. Until next new moon, move with joy and passion on this never-ending journey to the core of our souls. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.